Texas oil field. Rock weighs about 175 pounds per cubic foot, depending on what kind of rock. I understand the density problem, okay? 5,000 feet down, the pressure would be 6,000 psi from the rock. So if you drill down 6,000 feet, just the rock is pushing down 6,000 pounds per square inch, okay? Oil wells have 20,000 psi in them, way above the weight of the overbearing rock. Where did they get this pressure? And where did the oil come from? The rocks can only hold that excess pressure for about 10,000 years. If the oil had been down there for millions of years, that excess pressure would have fractured the rock and the pressure would have dissipated, and pressure would have dissipated into the surrounding ground. The fact that the oil wells, sometimes they drill down and it comes shooting up out of the ground. It wants out of there bad. Gushers. In the early days, happened all the time. High pressure wells start at around 10,000 pounds per square inch. Just Google Kilgore, Texas, back in the 1930s when they started hitting the oil down there. An operator in the Gulf of Mexico had a deep water project 138 miles south of Louisiana, 2,000 feet of water. The gas and condensate production came from sands located at a depth of 19,000 feet down. The high pressure, greater than 15,000 psi, complex reservoir and structure, and inherent stratigraphy. You can read the rest of the article for yourself right there. Halliburton, all right? Oil and gas. The textbook says both of these, oil and gas, are thought to form from the decay of organisms that once lived in the sea. Microscopic creatures in the sea called diatoms snowed to the bottom, got buried, and under heat and pressure turned to oil. I have no reason to argue with that. They were changed by heat and pressure. 1996, $22 million proposal approved in Western Australia to build a plant to create oil from sewage sludge in 30 minutes. Take sewage sludge and squeeze it under pressure and turn it to oil. Oh, yeah. Technology savvy could turn 600 million tons of turkey guts and other waste into 4 billion barrels of light Texas crude oil each year. They say we duplicated what Mother Nature does, but what Mother Nature took millions of years to do, we do in about 30 minutes. So I want you to understand now, it does not take millions of years to make oil. They can do it in the laboratory, okay? Brian Apple, be the first one to tell you, selling chocolate, theater seats, and perfume was a lot simpler than saving the world by turning turkey parts into oil. What? He said, when I first explain it to people, they think I'm nuts. I'm telling you, they think I'm nuts, said the 45-year-old West Hampstead entrepreneur, whose latest venture is a local company getting nationwide attention, an astonishing technology that can transform almost anything from tires to turkeys into high-quality petroleum. Apple and his financial backers have bet more than $66 million that modern alchemy practiced in changing world technologies will revolutionize the way the world deals with its waste. Not bad for a 25-person company, has no scientific training, runs from the top floor of a Hempstead Avenue china shop owned by his wife. The idea, instead of having to pay someone to burn, bury, or dump household garbage, medical waste, worn-out computers, animal parts, sewage sludge, and all sorts of other carbon-based waste, the company can use changing world patent process to convert the cast-offs into valuable fuels, industrial oil and fertilizer. How? The same way Mother Nature does the job deep inside the earth with intense heat and pressure, speeding up Mother Nature. The difference is that it takes millions of years for the buried remains of plants, dinosaurs, and other organic matter to break down into crude oil. Really. Changing world technology gets it done in less than 3 hours and ends up with a purer product. So Mother Nature takes millions of years. She must be dumb, man. Let's see. Now the company's bold claim it can turn a profit by turning garbage into oil is getting its first full-scale test in a small town in the Ozark Mountains. Brand new $31 million factory in Carthage, Missouri. Got about 15,000 people live in that town, okay? Has begun taking in truckloads of bones, feathers, blood, and guts from Butterball Turkey Processing Plant. Garbage to Oil Facility is a joint venture of Changing World and Omaha-based ConAgra Foods, which owns Butterball. At the experimental factory, which can handle 250 tons of animal waste a day, turkey parts are mixed with leftover restaurant grease and lots of water. Then they heat it to 500 and 1,000 degrees and subject it to air pressure under heat and pressure 50 times greater than what we feel on the Earth's surface. So 15 psi, 14.7 psi times 50, whatever that is. Okay, let's see. For every ton of turkey slop that goes in, what comes out? 640 pounds of clean burning oil. 100 pounds of propane, butane, and methane gas that are burned at the factory site to generate the electricity that powers the garbage to fuel, and 60 pounds of solid minerals that are sold as fertilizer. It works. Each type of raw material, tires, plastic, sewage, for example, produces different grades and qualities of oil. The company prefers to limit the process to one kind of garbage at a time. Take tires, change them to oil. Take turkey guts, change them to oil. Oh yeah. Old computers. The only waste that's left behind is distilled water. You can read the article for yourself. He said it's too soon to know how successful they'll be, but there's some real excitement out there. Changing World Technologies is just one of hundreds of small startup biomass companies all over the world, experimenting with high-tech process to extract energy from plants and animals. People have been getting energy from biomass ever since the first bonfire. Today, biomass provides 4% of the nation's energy, mostly through the burning of wood or garbage. Let's see. Discover magazine. The thermal conversion process can take slaughterhouse waste, municipal sewage, old tires, mixed plastics, and make high-quality oil. And that was, what, 17 years ago? Can we produce petrol artificially? British engineers control petrol from air and water. Create petrol, I'm sorry. Methanol is then converted into petrol. That's their word for gasoline. That's why they needed our help to win the war. They couldn't talk right. Okay. By using renewable energy to power the process. Okay. Petrol. Extreme tech from eons to hours. The new process can pressure cook algae into crude oil. New discovery could let scientists artificially create crude oil in under an hour, accelerating a natural process that normally takes at least a few million years. In nature, crude oil is the product of hundreds of species of algae and bacteria that grew, died, and slowly settled to form decaying organic matter. Watch this now. This matter builds up and compresses itself. The slow pressure and ever-rising heat slowly baking microorganisms and tiny animals like plankton into a waxy substance called kerogen, then into oil. Pacific Northwest Energy did an article about turning garbage in algae to crude oil. Million-year natural process takes minutes in the laboratory. Wow. There it is. Engineers created a continuous chemical process that produces useful crude oil minutes after they pour in harvested algae, the verdant green paste with the consistency of pea soup. Turn algae to oil. The Bible says in the 600th year of Noah's life, the fountains of the great deep were broken up. The water that used to be under the crust of the earth shot to the surface. The earth cracked up like an eggshell, and we still got the cracks all over the place, the fault lines, and the water came shooting out. The hot water from in the earth would kill everything within a few miles or maybe 100 miles of where it comes hitting out, okay? So the crust of the earth, pretty thin, maybe 10 miles, okay? That water came shooting out from inside the earth, and as Walt Brown brilliantly shows in his book, In the Beginning, which is very hard to get now, In the Beginning, we can't get it to sell, or we wouldn't in our bookstore, it's fabulous, about how the pressure underneath, once the water is shooting out along the crack's going to get wider from erosion, rapid erosion, and the bottom's going to lift up in the middle, causing the two sides to slide away. As they slide away, they're going to run into resistance and wrinkle up. You know, there are wrinkled mountains found all over the world, like they were pushed from the side. They were. Okay. Anyway, we cover all that on video number 6. The fountains of the deep. This hot water came out, killing everything within minutes, within a few 100 miles. Hot water would kill all the diatoms. Now, diatoms are amazingly complex, little tiny creatures. It would take 500 of them end to end to be an inch long. and they're alive. And you guys think nobody designed it, don't you? You atheists. Nobody designed the diatoms. They are amazing. You should really study diatoms, okay? It gets together called diatomaceous earth. Dead diatoms accumulate slowly at the bottom of the ocean. It may take 1,000 years to get 1 inch. That's what's happening today. However, if Noah's flood story is true, that hot water would kill the diatoms by the bazillions and they would snow to the bottom. Boiling water rushing out of the cracks would kill all the diatoms and fish within 100 miles within seconds. And they would snow to the bottom, making thick layers in days, not millions of years. Diatomaceous earth powder. How many have ever heard of that before? You can use it to kill bugs. That stuff is so tiny. The bugs, the sides of the insect have little holes called spiracles. They breathe it in and get stuck in their spiracles and suffocates the bugs. That stuff is tiny. Diatomaceous earth powder. Swimming pool filters, detergent, fertilizer, insulation, soundproofing, paper finish, bricks, paint thickeners, oil dry, cat litter, paint removers. It's used for all kinds of stuff. In Lompoc, California, the largest diatomaceous earth quarry in the world is in Lompoc. So when I lived in California, I drove down there to see it. Lompoc, California, 100 feet above sea level. There in Lompoc is the Sealite Corporation, where they mine diatomaceous earth. That is a mountain that they've been working on digging away. That's all pure diatomaceous earth. How many microscopic diatoms? Let's see, 500 to be an inch. How many are in that mountain, would you guess? Diatomaceous earth, called it DE, goes for over 100 miles and is often hundreds of feet thick. At the diatomaceous earth quarry, a remarkable discovery was made during the 1976. Workers at the Calcite Corporation, Dicalcite, uncovered the fossil skeleton of a baleen whale. Here they are digging through this diatomaceous earth, which is a white, off-white, powdery substance. The whale was standing on end in the quarry and is 80 feet long. So the thickness of the whale is the problem, not the 80-foot length, because the layers are all tilted. Whales, dolphins, trillions of fish, and even pterodactyls have been found preserved in diatomaceous earth. Well, now, wait a minute. If the diatomaceous earth is accumulating an inch every 1,000 years, isn't it kind of unlikely that anything would be preserved in it? I mean, isn't it going to rot instead? Here we have from our museum all kinds of fossils found in diatomaceous earth. Itty-bitty fish fossils. There's part of some kind of fossil in this one. Let's see. Diatomaceous earth. I went down there. I talked to the guys who run the machinery down there. I said, guys, do you ever find anything unusual in here? They said, oh, we find crazy stuff buried in diatomaceous earth. Fossils actually, the earth itself is trillions of fossils, but buried in that is even more fossils. Here's a fish fossil preserved in diatomaceous earth. So I got my Swiss Army knife, split some in half, and there were more fossils inside. Broke that one open, brought it home. All those, I think it must have really rapidly buried those fish, don't you think? Like maybe a rapid temperature change when the fountains of the deep broke open. Trillions of fossils are found in this diatomaceous earth. I mean, maybe even quadrillions, okay? Trillions of fossils found in diatomaceous earth. Here's what it looks like under the microscope. That is diatoms. Now, atheists, this is going to be hard. I'm going to ask you to do something very hard. I want you to think. Do you really believe nobody designed the diatoms? How can anyone with one functioning brain cell believe these diatoms formed by chance? Don't they look a little bit designed? If you didn't know better. You scan, electron microscope, scan diatomaceous earth. I mean, this is mountains and mountains of this stuff. And every cubic inch would have probably billions of these little diatomaceous earth. And look at this, August 31st, Diatomaceous Earth Day. We need a shirt. Yeah, we'll celebrate it here at Dinosaur Adventureland. Diatomaceous Earth Day. Let's see, EP Minerals, Silicon Corporation. Most people know of diatomaceous earth they use in swimming pool filters for its natural insecticide properties to control insects. Biologists know about diatoms single-celled plants that form diatomaceous earth, because they're truly the lungs of the earth. Watch this now. In that they produce about 3/4 of the world's new oxygen supply. These little tiny plants, remember plants breathe in CO2 and give off oxygen. They're providing 3/4 of the oxygen for the world. The diatoms swimming around in the ocean. Material scientists know about diatom skeletons called frustules, the tiny, intricate, porous opal structures, because they're known to be the strongest naturally occurring substance. Diatomaceous earth, a sedimentary rock found in large deposits worldwide and mined primarily in the United States, Mexico, Chile, Peru, France, Spain, Denmark, and China. While still being formed today, some of the deposits of diatomaceous earth were formed millions of years ago. Diatomaceous earth deposits are formed as diatoms die and fall to the bottom. And it took millions of years. Guys, you really believe nobody made that? I mean, really. This is a plant, a whole bunch of them. Doesn't it kind of almost look designed? Almost. Let's see. It's one of the most useful substances known. Let's see. Diatomaceous earth, useful substance. Nearly ubiquitous use in the filtration of liquids, including beer, wine, water for swimming, chemicals, food, pharmaceuticals. It provides flattening in almost all flat paints. You know, you want high gloss, semi-gloss, or flat. Yeah, diatomaceous earth in there. It prevents blocking in plastic film. When oil is spilled, it's often the first choice to absorb oil. And there are hundreds of other applications with many more to be discovered. I wonder how many diatoms are in that pile right there. Or that pile. Or that cliff. Remember, they're real tiny. And all of them came from a dot smaller than a proton. Oh yeah. All of them squeezed in there. How can anybody with one functioning brain cell believe this happened by chance? Trillions of diatomaceous earth fossils are burying an even bigger fossil, a fish. So the fossil is preserved in fossils. We have dozens of of small fish fossils here at our, where am I at? Lenox, Alabama, Dinosaur Adventureland Museum. Copies of this fish fossil. We used to make them and sell them, copies of them, but you can get the real thing. If anybody lives out near there and can ship me boxes of them, we'll sell them in our bookstore for a penny or something, so people can have one for a demonstration to start a conversation. It's a good witnessing tool. Look at that. A dead fish preserved in a bunch of dead diatoms. The white chalk cliffs of Dover would be the same problem. You guys really believe all this formed by chance? There's so much chalk, they call it the Cretaceous age. There's no such thing as a Cretaceous age. There's a lot of chalk, a whole bunch of chalk. The white cliffs of Dover, England, mostly chalk. Well, the Bible says the waters prevailed and increased greatly, and the ark floated around during the flood. But underneath, it's chaos, and all this stuff is settling out into layers while Noah's in the ark. During the first few months of the flood, dead animals settled out, were buried. The swirling waters deposited by the tidal pumping, just the tide going up and down as the earth turns under the moon, is going to pump the water in and out sideways. It's going to make all these layers in hours. When we flip these things over, they make a whole bunch of layers. Oh, look at that. Dueling banjos? Oh no, we got dueling sand art. Yeah, let's see which one makes the most layers. It doesn't take millions of years. These layers form quickly. And the layers are not different ages. All those grains of sand in there are the same age, all of them. Make a real fancy pattern. Okay. See, when the water's moving sideways is when it makes the strata, the layers. One of the biggest lies in world history began in 1830 when they started teaching that stupid geologic column, which does not exist anywhere. Give it up, guys. It doesn't exist. All the layers are the same age. See, when water is moving, the layers form horizontally. And you could form 8 or 10 layers at a time. Google experiments in stratification. Watch the video of the guy making 10 layers at a time, sideways. So a fossil on top could actually be older than a fossil at the bottom. There's the younger one down there. Your whole geologic column is dumb. Tell everybody I said so, and I'll debate them all on that, okay? Underwater landslides, called turbidity currents, can do enormous damage. 1929, there was an underwater landslide going 70 miles an hour, covered 40,000 square miles. I think the whole state of Alabama is 50,000 square miles. That's a big landslide. The swirling waters and the moving water underneath would deposit bazillions of animals that are dead into and bury them and turn them into fossils. In Wyoming in 1934, they found a dinosaur graveyard. The concentration of fossils was remarkable. They were piled like logs in a jam, big log jam of fossils. And sometimes the fossils are found in the swimming position, like they're trying to escape the new muddy water coming around them. Swimming position. Sometimes they're buried so fast, this guy didn't even get to swallow his last fish. Intricate detail, tiny starfish, trilobites, found fossilized. Robert Bloom estimated there are 800,000 million skeletons of vertebrate animals in the Karoo Formation. Google Karoo Formation. You guys think all those animals fit in a dot smaller than a period, and they all came from an amoeba. 1878, remarkable concentration of iguanodon skeletons were discovered in a Belgian coal mine 1,000 feet below ground. Did the iguanas dig a hole 1,000 feet deep to go die there? Could be seen the fossil boneyard was one of gigantic proportions, especially notable because its vertical extension through more than 100 feet of rock. 100-foot thick layer of dead iguanodons, Axel Island is way up in northern Canada. There are no trees in Axel Island, but they find fossil redwood stump. Wait, there are no trees up there at all. How do you get a redwood tree, no less? Not just any old tree, but a redwood tree. Axel Island, way up there. Sinclair Gas Company has their logo as a dinosaur. You know why? They say dinosaurs turned into oil. You might be on to something there, Sinclair. I would agree. Oil comes from creatures that were buried and turned under heat and pressure to oil. They say it mellowed for 80 million years. No, guys. The flood did that. Noah's flood would bury all kinds of things and turn them into oil. Next time you're at the gas station, pumping them in there, you say, bye, Grandpa. You should have got on the ark. You should have listened to Noah. Yep, there's Sinclair's headquarter number. We need to get a Sinclair sign for here, don't we? We have one. You get any old Sinclair signs, we'd like them for our dinosaur. Put them up at our little gas station we got. I got a theory about why there's high pressure in oil wells, okay? 6,000 years ago, God created everything in 6 days. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood. The flood buried lots of people and animals under hundreds or thousands of feet of mud, and they turned to oil in months, maybe weeks. They can do it in the laboratory in 30 minutes. The flood explains it. But the Bible says the scoffers are willingly ignorant of the creation and the flood. The oil is down in the ground because of Noah's flood. Jesus said, have you not read, he which made them at the beginning, made them male and female? Talking about marriage and Adam and Eve. Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning. And someday you atheists are going to stand before Jesus. He's going to say, I told you the creation of Adam was the beginning. Why would you think I lied? I made them. God said in the 10 Commandments, in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is. It couldn't be more clear. He wrote it on a rock with his finger. You're going to stand before God one day. He's going to say, hey, look, I told you I made it in 6 days. My book, that millions of people died in order for you to be able to hold a copy of it. You ought to at least read it. So many people died trying to get this transmitted down to us over the centuries. I made it all in 6 days. My book shows it was 6,000 years ago. All you got to do is add up those dates in the Bible. Adam was 130 when Seth was born. I mean, it's right there in Genesis 5. After that, go to Genesis 11 after the flood. It couldn't be more clear. The dates add up to 6,000. And you atheists are so desperate to keep your pacifier of time in your mouth, so you quit whining. Oh, how did the amoeba turn to a human? Oh, over billions of years. If that doesn't work, try more time. Num, num, num. I'm sorry. You can't have time. Get a theory to explain the world that does not involve billions of years. Because you can't have billions of years. Sorry. Can't have it. You think your little scientists were smarter than me? God's going to say one day, depart from me. I don't want that for anybody. God's not willing that any should perish. I don't want anybody to go to hell. I'm trying. What else do you want me to do? I've been preaching for a long time, 49 years, trying to get the message out. Give your heart to the Lord. Get saved. Okay, questions or comments? Looks like we got a bunch of comments there, brother. What do you got? Hey, brother, do you believe that people can be saved, though other Bible versions besides the King James? Oh, yeah. The King James, I think, is where God preserved his word, but you can read, people get saved reading all kinds of Bible versions. I think if you're going to be a mature, healthy, growing Christian, you're going to have to switch to a King James. There are some serious problems in the other ones, okay? We covered that on video number 7 of my seminar series. Get the whole thing for $50. Seminar part 7, question answer, why you better use a King James. I tell people, get your NIV, and they open their NIV. I say, read Acts 8:37 to me. You say, it's gone. Yeah, there's 200 verses gone from your NIV and 6,000 parts of other verses gone. 1 John 5:7. You only got about half of it in your NIV, non-inspired version. Okay, other questions? I have a question. How did Jesus tell people your sins are forgiven before he died on the cross? Well, there were people before the crucifixion, their salvation was by faith that he was going to come. Now it's by faith that he did come. Same thing. Adam was saved by bringing the lamb, a sacrifice, or God made coats of skins for them. Abel was saved by bringing a lamb. He believed by faith somehow this innocent lamb has to die for my sins. So all through the Old Testament, before Jesus died, salvation was by faith in what was going to happen. Now it's by faith in what did happen. So no difference. Salvation's always been by faith. Okay? Any more? Let's see. If we all humans, animals and plants start very small and grow much bigger to an adult, then die and return to dust, would the accumulation of dust slowly make the earth bigger? No, because it's the same material being recycled. Great-great-great-great-grandpa died, turned to dust. The plant's roots went down, picked up the dust, turned it into a tomato. I eat the tomato. I get grandpa's dust. It's recycled. Okay, so the tomato is recycled grandpa. So no, nothing's being added, okay? Any more? That's it. What happened to Crybaby?
He's not here, but he's just lying.
Crybaby, I'd like you to come down here and visit Dinosaur Adventureland. I will give you a tour and introduce you to Jesus Christ. Then you can quit crying. He's got a comment? High pressure shows that oil is trapped by rock impermeable enough to hold such reservoirs. How long can the rock hold that without? Tell you what, put 200 pounds of pressure in your car tire and just let it sit for 5 years. What would happen? The rock contributes about 6,000 pounds of pressure to the oil, but the oil's under 20,000 pounds of pressure in some of these oil wells. You are dreaming if you think that's not going to fracture the rock eventually, like a frac job. And why are you so desperate? I know, it's your passy, isn't it, Crybaby? You got to have time. We need a special one just for creationist Crybaby, a big one. We could super glue it right in his mouth. Yeah, okay. So I know you're desperate to hang on to time. And I'm glad you're watching, but I know this whole series I'm doing is frustrating you, isn't it? It's okay. You'll be fine. Let's see. Seafloor. No, sea science. If you appreciate in-depth Bible studies and discussion on debates about the evolution versus creation topic, then subscribe for tons of fun. Remember to select the solid bell. Spam?
It's a fan.
A fan. Yeah. Please subscribe to our channel and tell others about it. The best advertisement is you contacting all your Facebook friends and say, look, subscribe to that channel. We had 220,000 when YouTube shut us down, never told us why. Now we're back up to almost 21,000. We're starting from scratch again. So thank you. Anybody else?
This one just came in.
Okay. Do you think the Bible is literal or allegorical or both? Well, there's a combination of both. There are stories in the Bible. It's true that Jesus told the story. Now, whether the story was an allegory or not, so it doesn't have to be either or, okay? All right. That's it. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Whack an 8.